Talk about tribute and talk about being in a cover band. What's the difference between being in a tribute band and being in a cover band?
Cover band, you're covering a larger range of music, whether it be top 40 or, retro stuff. You're covering a bunch of 80s artists, what have you. You're covering a lot of different Motown stuff. Yeah. When you're in a tribute band, you're focused on one artist. And the West Coast has a lot of tribute bands, and I get called for a lot of tribute bands.
Here's my question, though. Do you have to play exactly the way the drums were played?
Yeah, in my point of view, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it really kind of depends. I've done, let's go through the list here. I've done Bowie Tribute.
Well, that was nice.
That was fun.
Played with Click.
At first, it wasn't fun because it was a really raw operation, and they got better, and they killed it. So they're doing really well. The Click. So the first thing that we did was we covered the Ziggy Stardust record.
Right.
So it was very loose, and it was very, there was no click involved until we started to expand the repertoire into the 80s stuff.
You guys play The Man Who Ruled the
Yeah,
World?
we've done all that. Yeah, we played the record top to bottom.
Wow.
For our first handful of shows, and then I left the group, and now I'm the sub that comes in when the guy that took the gig can't make it. I show up. And we do all what I consider the fun stuff. I'm a sucker for the 80s, man. I can't get away from it. So, or late 70s too. I mean, the fashion and Let's Dance record and that kind of stuff. That's a lot of the Nile Rodgers record.
Yes, we touched on that the first time. Yeah. So Bowie Tribute. What else?
Rod Stewart. Did a Rod Stewart thing. Still get called for that group called Atlantic Crossing, and once again, it's like the stuff that he did when did he come out? Mid-60s, late 60s?
Wait, let's go back to Bowie. I have a question with regard to, because since you did tributes to these artists, you had to dissect these artists to get to the essence of them, right?
Absolutely.
What was your takeaway from Bowie?
Very loose on those early recordings. Studying the Ziggy Stardust record, because I'd heard those songs a million times, never played them, so you have to get into player mode, and you have to learn who these people are that played on the record, and you have to listen to it differently now,
right?
When you're charting out. And when you're charting out stuff and this goes for the Rod Stewart stuff too, when you're charting anything that came out in the 60s or early 70s, you know that they were all on drugs. And didn't have a lot of money for studio time because one take and they were out. You hear the bass player go into the chorus a measure early and they leave it on the record? Really? Do you play it that way live? I mean, what do you do with that when there's mistakes on the record? So
what do you do with that?
Well, I mean, the drums, what's a mistake? You're playing the groove and maybe you go to the ride cymbal too early. Right. I didn't hear any of that, really. But I did hear the bass player screwed up a lot on that record. The Ziggy Stardust, I hate to throw him under the bus like that, but geez. And the Rod Stewart stuff the same way. It's like you're working with, the way I chart my charts, because I use them live. With playing as many gigs, I'm not using charts with Josie Pace or Laith El-Sadi because that's stuff.
But the one-offs you have to.
But you have to chart the tribute band stuff. And I'm looking at my chart for a Rod Stewart song. Most of the time, you're dealing with 4s and 8s.
Yes.
Because I write big measure numbers, like the verse 1, 8 bars or 16 bars.
Yeah.
Chorus or pre-chorus and then chorus or whatever. But I'm always looking at these big numbers of like how many measures I'm playing for each section. And you're seeing things like 11s and 13s and like these oddball numbers because they're just jamming.
Yeah.
They're jamming.
And sometimes
and
they'll go into a 2/4 and then.
Yeah.
Right?
Bars of 2/4 in the midst and they were okay with complete time signature changes too back in those days. So you could be playing a completely different groove. So the later stuff is a lot easier to digest, I guess, is the answer, the short answer to that, because you had more structure and you had Nile Rodgers producing everything in the 80s. So there's a lot more 8s and 4s and 16s.
Because it's disco time, yeah.
Exactly.
What else? What other bands?
What other band? I did a Cure tribute.
How was that?
That was interesting. They're kind of more jam bandy than I expected them to be.
Right.
Once again, their later stuff was a little bit more structured, but you get into that earlier Cure stuff, and they're like gothic jam band.
Yeah.
And that was strange to me because I thought that I knew the Cure a lot better than I actually did. And that was a doubleheader. That was a New Year's gig right before the pandemic. So this would have been this was my first gig after rehab.
Okay.
And so no drinking,
Right.
which was really hard on New Year's Eve. I'm like, this is the trigger moment right now. If I can't make it through this one, Right. So it was a double header for me. I did an hour of Duran Duran,
Nice.
and an hour of The Cure.
Look at you.
Same band, but we changed clothes, obviously, for
Look
each
at
set.
you.
That was a lot of fun, and I had high hopes for the Duran Duran tribute because I'm such a huge fan.
Right.
I was just the sub, but I came in with all the samples.
Yeah.
When I played View to a Kill, I had the kick and snare triggered
Really?
for the actual, because you can actually trigger that stuff. I came in with it all, and they saw that I had an interest in that band in particular. That they're like, okay, the other guy is out, you're in. And then the pandemic hit, and all the gigs went away. So,
Dang.
maybe that'll resume. I don't know, but being called for any gig is great.
Yes.
But at the same token, I can get really dark about like, another tribute band is calling me. Great,
Right.
I don't want to get pigeonholed in that because a lot of those guys play with the most recent one is this Robert Plant tribute. The bass player's from Pink Floyd tribute band, and other guys from this other tribute.
Yes.
It's this incestual group of players that all play together all the time. And I landed that gig because the guitar player subbed for our guitar player in the Rod Stewart tribute band. So it's like it's its own network.
But you know that Arnel Pineda was in a cover band, and that's how he got discovered by Journey, right?
Is that right?
Yeah.
I thought he was a YouTube guy.
No,
I didn't realize
no.
that he was.
So his band was filmed because that's how we do it in the Philippines. Like people take videos of bands, and and someone just uploaded the video, and Neil Sean was.
Oh well, that's a reason to put up more YouTube videos, isn't
right?
it?
and so where am I going with this? Just keep doing what you're doing. Just be grateful because for all you know, that's
gratitude. Gratitude is key.
And that's your setup for someone like maybe not Rod Stewart, but what about Robert Plant? Maybe he's looking for a drummer.
Hey, you never know.
Never know.
Never know.